The people of Twitter are angry. When aren't they? But today, the subject of their ire is none other than VIDEOGAMEDUNKey, YouTuber and video game reviewer with over 7 million subscribers. You're here to find out why VIDEOGAMEDUNKey is trending on Twitter. And I'm here to explore whether this is a controversy or a non-traversy.
Hero the main.
Hello my dears, Hero here. Today we're talking about VIDEOGAMEDUNKey's most recent video reviewing Xenoblade Chronicles 3 and the heat it is kind of receiving on Twitter. A lot of people are calling this out as one of Dunkey's weaker videos, which I agree, it's not necessarily his best video. But people are also using it as an opportunity to dogpile on the guy and basically call him a bad reviewer, or at least a hypocritical reviewer. So I'm going to explore this discourse today and give you my thoughts. Give you my thoughts on the Xenoblade 3 video that he put out, which I did watch. And yeah, let's just see, did he really do something bad here? Let's start at the beginning with the video. I saw that he posted a Xenoblade 3 video, and I'm subscribed to VIDEOGAMEDUNKey. I didn't unsubscribe after this or anything. And so I saw he put out his Xenoblade 3 video. I'm just beat chapter 4 of the game. I'm about to start chapter 5. The only thing I know long term of this game is it has 7 chapters. These chapters kind of felt longer than previous games, so I did want to know this information just to see kind of what I was in for. So I thought I was a pretty good way into the game. I was ready to see what he had to say about it, because going off his previous Xenoblade 2 review, he hadn't gone that far into the game with footage he showed. He didn't really show past the halfway point. I don't think he even made it to that point with the footage. So I thought, you know, this is a pretty safe video. I can click on it. I'm probably not going to agree with his opinion because I didn't necessarily agree with his Xenoblade 2 opinion, but I'll let him pop off and, you know, that'll be that. I have all these presumptions in my head, but, you know, I see the video, I click on it. I really didn't put much more thought into that. I clicked the video, watched it, and it's about a 10-minute video, and at about the 6-minute mark was when I see a character that I hadn't seen before. Now, what's important to know about the style of this video is it's kind of one of Dunkey's, I would say, lazier videos where he just plays a bunch of cutscenes.
There's no escape. When my Mondo have you, they'll follow you to the ends of the world. How did she fool my Mondo?
Plays a bunch of the voice dialogue repeating.
Whoa, got a rare doodah right here.
He's gonna say that every 2 seconds, isn't he?
Whoa, got a rare doodah right here. Whoa, got a rare doodah right. Doodah, 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 doodah.
Is this like a rare thing?
What the fuck is wrong? Whoa, 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 whoa. Rare doodah right here.
You do hear the in-game flavor text so much, so I think, you know, it made sense for this video he was making to keep hammering in that point that you hear this stuff over and over. He was really focusing on just the cheesiness of the RPG and basically making a Xenoblade 3 out of context compilation. That's what it was. He threw in a couple of his one-liners, you know, because it's his video, it's his comedy.
Mobius.
Morbius?
But at the end of the day, we weren't really watching a review. He didn't label it as one of his dunk views. It was a Xenoblade 3 out of context video. That's what we were watching. And so by the 6-minute mark, when I see this character and plot points I hadn't seen before, and I noticed the trend of he was progressing through the narrative, I was like, oh no. I don't want to keep watching the video anymore because this is territory I haven't reached and I don't want to be spoiled. So I dropped out of the video. Now, a bunch of people are mad because reportedly Dunkey spoiled the end of the game. I stopped watching. I don't care to keep watching to find out. And here's my take with spoilers, alright? I accidentally spoil things for people all the time. I'm worried that telling you there was 7 chapters in the game is too much info. But usually I'm way worse. I'll tell you whole plots of things. My friends kind of harp on me all the time. I'm a spoiler. And yet I do still care about spoilers in certain contexts. I think a good reveal is a good reveal, and when the moment is done right, having it spoiled doesn't necessarily ruin the experience. My greatest example for this is when I went into theaters to see Star Wars Episode 7. I knew about the Han Solo spoiler in that movie, which I don't think is that much of a spoiler these days, but I'll just label it the Han Solo spoiler. You can probably guess just by that what happens. So yeah, I had that moment in the movie, which is pretty big to the plot, pretty big to the universe, spoiled for me, but the scene was still done really well. I still felt the emotion of it, and ultimately I didn't really care that this was spoiled for me. I oftentimes will argue that this was an argument made in a CJVX video, which CJVX is an incredible YouTube video essayist. I don't really need to plug them because they're way more known than me. But that being said, they have the take in one of their videos that nostalgia, music, these are things where our enjoyment comes from the repetition of something, knowing something is coming. And so in the long game of media you enjoy, having something spoiled isn't necessarily the worst thing, especially if those moments, like in my experience with Star Wars Episode 7, earn their emotional impacts. However, even though I don't necessarily care about spoilers in most cases, I accidentally spoil things a lot of the time for people. I would say, all things considered, I have a very liberal view of spoilers. That being said, sometimes mysteries really are engaging, and you personally will get invested in certain narratives, and you want to see those narratives, especially narratives that have a big mystery. You want to see what happens, solve all those little puzzles for yourself. One such media, I would argue, is One Piece. Spoiling One Piece to someone kind of takes a lot of the fun out of it. At one point, even the main character of One Piece, Luffy, has the opportunity to find out what the One Piece is. He meets a guy who's seen it, who was on the crew who found the treasure originally and knows its hiding place.
俺も一個だけ聞きてんだけど、一つだけの代表、ワンピースってのは本当に最高だ。宝がどこにあるかなんて聞きたくねえ。宝があるかないかだって聞きたくねえ。何もわかんねえけど、みんなそうやって命がけで海へ出てんだよ。ここでおっさんから何か教えてもらうんなら、俺は海賊をやめる。
We're on an adventure here. We want to discover. And we're playing a video game here. Going back to the thing that Dunkey spoiled. This is a video game, and a lot of its plot hinges on mystery. So it's very easy to understand that people are invested in this adventure. They're on their own adventure here. We're seeing the plots unfold for ourselves, and yeah, we won't want things spoiled. Now, when will it have been long enough where spoiler warnings aren't necessitated? I don't know. But Xenoblade 3 is still Nintendo's most recent title until Splatoon comes out very soon, or just came out, depending how long it takes me to edit through my rambling. Xenoblade 3 is a very current game. It only came out in August. and it's a big adventure with the beefiest chapters in the Xenoblade series, and not everyone is going to crush the narrative like maybe Dunkey did, because he had to make a video about it. Of course he had to blitz through the story. Man needs to make money. That's something we have to remember here. He's still, at the end of the day, like, he wants to make videos and like play games, but also he does this for a living and had to blast through an entire JRPG and make a video about it. So maybe like his takeaway after all that from hours and hours of gameplay was what he showed us. All the easier to comment on stuff and, you know, the more gaming elements of the game, he was probably just fatigued, and this wasn't a video he wanted to explore the entire game. So yeah, in my experience, you know, I saw where there was a point where I didn't want to see any more of the video because I didn't want to have my One Piece spoiled. I was saying, hell no, I want to keep playing Xenoblade 3, and I want to, like, you know, figure out this mystery for myself. I want to get to the end. I'm still just in chapter 5 at the time of this recording, and yeah, if he apparently spoils the end game, I don't really care to watch further. I think it does make sense for people who kind of risked it and didn't choose to opt out at that moment. If they got spoiled more than they wanted, I think it's fair to be a little upset with this being such a recent game and there being no kind of spoiler warning. Yeah, I think it's fair for people to be upset over this aspect. And I'm like a little like, I feel for the people who got spoiled more than myself, but in my past of spoiling too much for people, I kind of empathize at the same time. He was probably just burnt out. You know, at least he keeps trying to play the most current titles, you know, the things that people care about. A lot of people care about Xenoblade 3. Just this time, his takes and the editing of this game was just kind of a miss. I think this game resonated more with people than Xenoblade 2 did. So a more comedic video like his Xenoblade 2 video didn't necessarily hit the same. And actually, that is something I want to discuss a little bit, is his Xenoblade 2 video, because I would say that video is actually better than this one. He talks more about the world in that game. He talks more about like the systems.
Okay, so you can spam WP, that's your weapon points to enhance your arts, and then you gotta go into the affinity chart and spend your SP on different talents for your talent tree, and then you gotta plug in the right core chip into your blade. Of course, this is just one of 14 steps to modify your weapon.
It's a more balanced video.
I gotta admit, you know, once you get into this game, the combat does really start to get interesting.
There was another video that came out recently about Xenoblade 2 by the YouTuber King K called Xenoblade 2, Why I Love It Despite It All. And it's this nice 1-hour essay kind of discussing how Xenoblade 2 is a game with a lot of good stuff underneath it. However, to get to those good things, you have to power through a lot of obnoxious stuff, like the overabundance of menus and skill trees, the over-sexualization of many female characters.
Why do Pyra and Mithra, one of the Aegis Blades, expose so much of their skin? Because it's attractive to a male audience. Malos, the other Aegis Blade, is not objectified in that way at all. You might say it's because they were made by different character designers, but then so were all of the blades. How come the majority of them turned out to be scantily clad, big-breasted women? It could not be more obvious to me in a game that also uses the highly popular gacha system, which does not at all prey on the horny hearts of men.
Why are her boobs bigger than her head? You can't make the character look stupider than that if you tried. You can't.
And female characters who are implied to be minors, that's some weird shit, and it's rightfully something to be called out, and that is uncomfortable to experience, even as a Xenoblade 2 fan. I'm, of course, talking about the weird stuff with Poppy.
Hey, wait a minute, what are you doing? Oh. Oh no, 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 no. Stop. Stop. Why are we doing this? Seriously? Poppy is genuinely one of my favorite characters, but she's also essentially a little girl who is sexualized and, no.
Wakey, wakey! Tora's very own blade! Oh, Poppy!
How may I be of service, Master?
Wait a minute! Oh, forget you see that! Tora must change the settings!
Why? Why does the Furby that talks like Jar Jar Binks have a sex slave robot? Why did you make that?
And there's the really poor explanation of tutorials.
Xenoblade 1 had a fairly unorthodox combat system, and I think Monolith Soft realized this when they were making it. That's why so much work went into making the tutorials clean and digestible. Xenoblade 2, for whatever reason, did not get this memo, instead opting to flash a bunch of text at completely random intervals with no option to revisit them. In this fight with Malos at the end of the first chapter, they lay 4 different tutorials on you. There is no reason to throw all of this at you in a single fight.
Alright, I finally get to play the game. Here we go, baby. Oh, tutorial. Okay, so you earn WP and SP. WP, that stands for weapon points. That levels up your skill and your arts. SP, that's skill points. So you go to the character menu. Now I get to play the game. Oh, tutorial. This is really important. Okay, there's 3 ways to modify your weapons with the core, and you gotta go to setup, type in, put in the right core chip.
When I first played the game, I even mistakenly said, oh yeah, I just didn't really understand the game until like 60 hours in. And then I got good at the game. Then I understood the systems and I started having a lot of fun. Part of it was me not properly learning the systems, sure, but also a huge part of it was Xenoblade 2 doing an abysmal job of teaching me those systems and also kind of like pacing out when you get certain abilities. You don't get chain attacks, Xenoblade's very iconic feature, until Xenoblade 2's 3rd chapter, which is just really weird. So yeah, Xenoblade 2 rightfully has critiques you can levy against it. King K makes those critiques and kind of does a good job of explaining why Xenoblade 2 is a beautiful mess. Dunkey, you know, he does appreciate that stuff, those beautiful points, but his video is more focused on comedy, and he's not afraid to shine a spotlight on those more hard-to-love moments. And so a lot of people attribute the perception of Xenoblade 2, since Dunkey is such a huge reviewer, they attribute his view of Xenoblade 2 at the time as tainting the game's image. But King K's video, which has now come out closer to the release of Xenoblade 3, it's more of a retrospective piece. What I learned when watching these 2 videos side by side is these 2 people are making the same takes. People were just upset at Dunkey for being hard on those harder to love aspects of Xenoblade 2 at the time. They think he created some slander and bad image of the game because he has influence, but he was just calling out those not so great things. And a lot of those not so great things did get toned down in Xenoblade 3. So it's unfortunate that this time he just kind of memed on it when there are memes to be made, but it is a much better game than Xenoblade 2. I would have really expected him to have liked it more, and we don't know if he did or not. And my assumption is maybe he did at least a little bit, but this was the video he had the energy to make. Yeah, Xenoblade 2 video, it's pretty good. It makes good points, and you see him trying to make an effort to enjoy those better things. And he's like, if this game were just kind of went back to the drawing board, it has a lot of potential here. And at least to me personally, gameplay wise and world building wise, pacing wise, Xenoblade 3 does improve a lot on Xenoblade 2's problems. I think it's the best playing, best feeling Xenoblade game there is yet. That being said, it just doesn't feel, that just didn't translate to Dunkey's newest video. So should we be upset with him? Is this controversial?
I used my thinking muscles for this one.
Well, that's really up to you at the end of the day. It seems like a lot of people on Twitter have made up their mind, being like, I am really upset with him over this. I can't trust him anymore. He's lost my vote type of positioning. And they're also saying, like, I never liked him, because that's what people on Twitter are like. They don't just suddenly dislike someone. They haven't liked someone the whole time, and they're just now telling you, because it was all just little suspicions until finally they gave me a reason to speak up about it, because that's what Twitter's like. So there's that crowd, and then there's also kind of Dunkey's blind defenders who will love him no matter what. They don't really care if he spoiled a game for the sake of comedy. They don't mind. I think we should ask him to do better. I think he shouldn't spoil games that have only been out for a little bit of time, especially because I did see the good point made that he was very sure to not spoil The Last of Us 2 when it came out.
Turns out we got bamboozled. You don't play as the giraffe.
It's because at the time that game was very recent, it's a very story-driven game. He wanted people to be able to enjoy the story for themselves the way he did. And so a lot of people rightfully read this as kind of him being disrespectful to the JRPG genre, because it does read a little hypocritical. I do think it's valid to be upset with him over this video, and we can always be critical of videos we dislike, because criticism is what helps artists improve. But to call this a whole controversy or even something cancelable, which no one is really calling to cancel him, just to really discredit him as a reviewer. And I don't think any of those actions are really appropriate here. I think we can rightfully say, hey, this wasn't your best video. Please at least put a spoiler warning up if you're gonna show full portions of cutscenes from that far into the game, or just don't show cutscenes that far into the game. It's a pretty simple request. I think that's a good takeaway from this. I don't think we suddenly have to not become fans of Dunkey or dogpile on him the way the Twitter people are. Maybe also ask him to not post spoiler images on his Twitter either. It's a matter of, like, he's a guy with 7 million subscribers. He does, in fact, have a lot of influence, and for a lot of people he was the reason that they got spoiled. They avoided spoilers successfully for an amount of time, and he was the one who spoiled it for them. We can always point the finger at the people like, oh, it's your fault for watching the video. You should have been like Hero and clicked away when you saw spoilers were incoming. But, like, I don't know. That's also like a disingenuous take. We're calling him out for being disingenuous, but also most of the people I'm seeing on Twitter are kind of being disingenuous as well. So, project the much. Please don't hate me for this. If you like the video, a like would definitely be appreciated. If you want to see another Xenoblade related video, I recently did a video essay about pacemakers in video games, or specifically Zeke's pacemaker-like thing that he has in his chest in Xenoblade 2. I worked very hard on that. It's much more well spoken than this video. It's a whole scripted video essay, and it goes into way more than just pacemakers in video games. It's pretty cool. Check that out. That's linked. One of my favorite videos I have made to date. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay super.